Now, the Body Moves International Inclusive Dance Festival returns this year and will be held in Gauteng and the Western Cape over the next 3 weeks. The lineup includes performances and workshops which will explore themes of identity, resilience, and the impact of climate change on deaf and disabled communities. We are now joined by CEO of the Sibikwa Arts Centre, Caryn Green, and also will be joined by amputee dancer Lethabo Shai to tell us more about the festival. A very good morning to you, Caryn. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, and thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So the Body Moves Festival is taking place a third year now in a row with the Sibikwa Arts Centre. Just talk to us about your objectives as an organization to have such an event at your premises.
Thank you. So I think that for us it's really important that everybody in society is able to participate and contribute to society. And I think that it's very clear that people with disabilities are often excluded. So the point of this festival is really just to show more about people who have disabilities and are still doing incredible things, to start conversations in our communities about things we don't understand, and hopefully to show a model of how we can come together and collaborate and create together despite barriers of disability and difference.
Just speaking on inclusivity and just on the previous years, how have you seen audiences interact and engage with what they're seeing on stage?
It's been incredible to see how audiences interact, particularly members of the audiences who have disabilities, to be able to see somebody on a professional stage performing in an incredible way really gives them inspiration and hope that things are possible. It's also really important for people without disabilities to also see that. Because our minds also need to shift, and our perspectives of what ability is can sometimes be limiting. So this year, really importantly for us, is to broaden the number of people who are able to engage with the festival. Is about taking it out to different places, from Benoni to Joburg to the Western Cape and other areas in Gauteng.
And how do you measure that impact in terms of how much those that are not disabled are able to understand and see the world from a different eye?
It's a very difficult thing to measure, to be able to go to everybody and go, what did you think about disability before and what do you think about it now? We can do that in the immediate term of the festival, but I think that we are seeing society shift. I think that we are seeing more inclusion of people with disabilities. So definitely the work that NGOs and NPOs are doing in this space is making a difference.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, let's bring in Lethabo Shai, who is a dancer. Lethabo, very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. Speak to us about the work that you've been doing as a dancer. Just give us a little bit of a background in terms of when it all started and when did this bug bite you?
Morning.
Good morning.
It started like a bit earlier on in high school, but it was fun. It was for fun. But also because I didn't grow up in an environment where there were a lot of disabled dancers, I had to creatively work my way through what that looks like for me. But then eventually, after studying and everything, I thought, okay, I don't think I like the field that I've chosen.
Okay.
But I think that I'm just going to dance and see what that looks like. And it's just been a roller coaster, like every single thing, just jumping from one place to another. I think that's, in short, that's what I'll probably say about like my journey as a dancer.
And your journey has been astounding because you've been on so many stages. Just talk to us about the highlights of your dance journey.
There's so many of them. There's so many of them. I think last year, that's when we officially worked together. I worked with Caryn for the festival, Body Moves Festival. That was really fun. And some adverts here and there as well. But I think recently, I would say there was the collaboration that we did with a UK company, and that has been the most recent highlight because that was really, really fun and challenging and out of everything that I know. So just traveling to a different country and working with people I don't know, that was, I think, that was a big highlight for 2024.
Right. And just with that exposure on a global stage, did you find that audiences receive and perceive you differently in South Africa as they do across the world?
I think the response is always different depending on the work that you're doing.
Right.
Because the show that we did was mainly focusing on sign language and like creating a piece that is also accommodating to children. So I think I've never really worked with children as, you know, like performing for children.
Yeah.
So I think having them be a major part of the audience was a really different response to what I'm used to based on, like, you know, we work with adults a lot.
Yeah.
So it's quite different, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to you for you just to talk to us about Synergy and the work that you'll be doing. But with Caryn, I just want to understand, what are you doing differently this year that you haven't done in all the other years? I know that it's in 2 provinces. Just talk to us about the different parts and the workshops that take place.
So in the previous 2 years, we had invited quite a number of companies from Europe and across Africa to come and participate in the festival.
Yeah.
This year, we've chosen to focus on one collaboration and to ensure that the works that are created this year are able to travel. We've always included workshops in our program, but this year we partnered with Africa Tikkun Centres, and we were working with carers and young people with disabilities in Diepsloot and Orange Farm and in their Alex and Brahms centres.
Yeah.
So different partnerships and different ways of working this year, but really with the same intention.
Yeah, and just the results that you're yielding, especially from these workshops, because I can imagine that working at grassroots level and just educating those that are able about the differences and the inclusivity that they need to start being aware of.
We're learning a lot too. I mean, every disability and the way that it is experienced and presented requires a different accommodation. The parents and the carers of these young people with disabilities require support and care. So the workshops really, what the carers was focusing on, take a moment for yourself. Here's a few tools of how you can self-care during your week when you are taking care of your young person. And with the young people going, come and have some fun, let's experience some joy through movement as much as they can.
Yeah.
And let's dream and imagine a world that's better than the one that we're in at the moment.
Of course, of course. And of course, Lethabo, you're living in this dream and this wonderful world that you've now created for yourself. Speak to us about Synergy that's going to be showcasing at this festival.
So Synergy is a very interesting piece, completely different from anything I've ever done.
Oh, really?
We mainly, it just focuses really on the planets, right? The different planets that we have. So that was the main inspiration, to look at what other places are there outside Earth, because Earth is, you know, a lot is happening on Earth, and if we were to lose Earth, then it was to be completely damaged. How would we survive on other planets? So we've also incorporated different themes like load shedding. So the usage of electricity, how that looks for different people. Like in the UK, it's a completely different concept, but how we've survived and how we've dealt with that in South Africa.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of themes that play around with how the world would look if we were to explore other planets, and focusing mainly on sign language as well, to create the movements and like to embody them in the form of dance. Also because we have different disabilities on stage as well. So that was very important as well, to see how that can be made accessible for the whole team. Yeah, I think that's basically the idea around, yeah.
So you've worked with Mark Smith, who's a renowned deaf choreographer. Was he a part of putting together some of the things in Synergy?
He was the main choreographer.
Right.
Yes, he basically came up with the concept. He basically was the one who was like, this is what I see, this is the vision. I think he would be perfect for actually saying, this is what I see, this is where everything came from. Yeah, but he was really good to work with. Yeah.
And how did working on this piece really change your perception, especially when it comes to climate change, and how able-bodied people view the impact of that differently on those that are differently abled?
I think one of the main things for me was realizing how, I don't know the right word, but I would say the main thing for me was just being open to how the whole thing of being disabled and living in a place or living in a world that doesn't really think about us that much, like, has really opened up my eyes. Like, I use crutches, I'm quite flexible and whatever, but there are other people who also depend, who have really demanding needs. You know, for instance, if you look at load shedding and then you look at people who are on wheelchairs that need to be charged, what does that look like for them? So I think for me, that was like, when we work and when we create, it's really important to just also think about our realities in the world and how we all have different journeys, but like, it doesn't always have to be a protest. It doesn't always have to be like a major debate.
Sure.
But like, in the arts, how do we communicate that and how do we tell those stories? So I think that was like the big opening for me.
All right, ladies, unfortunately we have run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us and all the best with the festival. I certainly do hope that many will be attending and take away all the objectives that you intend for them to take away from this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
That was the CEO of the Sibikwa Arts Centre, Caryn Green, and amputee dancer Lethabo Shai.